put her in blackface as like a representative of Africa.
I was like, well, she doesn't have to be white.
Right now I'm working a lot with identity and race and racial politics.
A lot of it involved like the metaphor of making a trade.
His wife like looks back on the Sodom and Gomorrah as it was burning, and she turns into a pillar of salt as punishment.
I am Breanne Johnson. I'm a fourth year student at U Chicago.
So I'm Alice. I'm a fourth year econ major. I do mostly 2D art, so some painting, a lot of ink, and some sketching in my free time as well.
But my background and like the thing that I've been doing my whole life is painting. Yeah, I like to paint a lot of realistic stuff and then kind of make it weird. Like I have a piece that happens to be right next to me that has like a ton of cellophane on it and like sort of debris and charcoal and fabric and gesso over the paint, just like a ton of stuff that's around me. Because I tend to work in pretty small spaces and then things just kind of accumulate and they're all there.
I try to combine a lot of fairy tales, like themes that come up in stories that we all are familiar with, and combine that with elements of art. It's not always so clear what's good and evil in a story. Say Snow White's like taking the apple from the evil witch, for example. Is there a parallel in that story to Eve making the trade, taking the apple from the serpent? Is Snow White like pure and innocent, or is she being tempted? Stuff like that. A lot of it involved like the metaphor of making a trade. So the Little Mermaid trades her voice, her like greatest asset, for, you know, a chance to, I don't know, catch the eye of someone she likes.
This is nothing more than just, you know, something I saw that was cool and I wanted to capture it on canvas. There's Mad Hatter again. He makes an appearance all the time. Not quite done with the people. There are only maybe 2 or 3 layers of paint on there, but I intend to finish them soon.
With conceptual work, a lot of artists, like, they have this idea and they pursue it and they do it really well, but a lot of what's brought to it is from an outside perspective, and like somebody coming in and being like, oh, this is like where I think they're coming from, and this is like the context that I'm bringing to it, which makes the artwork so much more complex than like the initial idea. There's this like sort of dichotomy that seems kind of inescapable in the way that we talk about race, especially in Chicago. So through my work, I'm trying to talk about people like myself who see race in a way that is like far more ambiguous than what is presented to us. Our history is all like slaves and slave owners, and there's a lot of, like, my cousins are all different colors, but we all have the same genes. We're all like, you know, of the same family. So you have all these like Dutch people who like sleep with their slaves, and then there's babies, and then my Oma, or my grandma, was stolen by her like high-class Dutch grandmother, and raised as like a white person, but she's actually dark-skinned, and then she had all these children who married Americans of various colors, and then had all these children, one of which is me. We have like a mixture of genes within us, but it's just like the phenotypic traits that show up that determine who you are in society.
And so that famous painting of Venus emerging from the waters, and I was like, well, she doesn't have to be white, so, you know, she doesn't have to be a particular ethnicity, so I made her green. A story recently about Lot and his wife, and I just found it really intriguing because his wife like looks back on the Sodom and Gomorrah as it was burning, and she turns into a pillar of salt as punishment. And, you know, I depict his wife as like a young girl who could be any one of you or me. Like, I like sympathize with her and her curiosity. Like, if I was her, I would have been curious too, and I guess I would have been punished by being turned into a pillar of salt.
It's a painting of Kate Moss and Zwarte Piet, who are both in blackface. Kate Moss was on the cover of some magazine in the 90s. It was sort of commissioned by Armani, and they put her in blackface as like a representative of Africa. And there was just like a lot of pushback, and people were like, why wouldn't they use Chanel Iman, or like why would they do that? And I read a sort of a critique of this, saying that maybe like there's something beautiful in the complication of identity and like the ability of one person to represent another. There's something about that mistaking of identity, or that like representation of a different identity, or identity that you don't own, that I think is interesting. Zwarte Piet is in sort of Dutch culture this, he's like Santa's helper, but he's the bad, he brings the coal, he's like the bad one. He's like a really problematic figure, and so is she, but I wanted to put them together in this relationship of misrepresenting and like the good and the bad, and try to sort of work through those ideas.
For the Maroon, I was involved in for a couple of quarters, and I did a lot of just cartoon illustrations for the articles there. For some of the like uchicago.edu little links, they'll have illustrations or photographs to go with it. Sometimes I do some of that. Currently, I'm actually working on a illustration for the professor's work bookshelf series that I guess they publish every few quarters, and I've illustrated for that before, and I'm happy to be doing it again.
I guess pipe dream, like I want to be an artist, like means that you'd have to put everything into that. You have to like commit to it. You can't really do conceptual art on the side.
People have asked me why I didn't pursue art as like a career, and I would say I like to keep it as a passion.